Hello students, how are you all? Hope so all of you are fine and happy. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Biology in Seconds. Today we will discuss the remaining part of punctuation. Let's start.
So we are at the lightboard, and as I've told you in the intro, today we are going to discuss punctuation once more with some further details and some more ingredients of punctuation. We've already discussed comma and full stop in the previous lecture, and the rest of the ingredients we are going to discuss in this lecture. And the very first one is semicolon. Now semicolon and comma can be used alternatively, but there are some usage where we can only use comma, or there are some places, I should say, where we can only use semicolon and not the comma. The very first one is to join two independent clauses. Now if we want to join two independent clauses, we cannot use comma. We'll have to use semicolon. For example, if I say option alpha he plays hockey I play cricket. Now these are two independent clauses. They can be joined using conjunction. They can be separated by using full stop. But if we want to use them jointly without using any full stop or without using any conjunction, then the right option will be he plays hockey, and instead of comma we'll use semicolon and say I play cricket. So the right option for us will be option beta, because the two independent clauses cannot be joined by using comma. They must be joined by using semicolon. Then the second important thing is it is used to introduce a series of objects. Remember, we use comma to separate the different items in a series, but here we are using semicolon to introduce a series. For example, if I say there are 8 parts of speech, comma, noun, pronoun, adjective, adverb, preposition, conjunction, and verb. Now you can clearly see that to introduce that list we are using semicolon, and to separate the list, to separate the different components of list, we are using comma. So this is the main difference between comma and semicolon. Thirdly, to join parallel clauses or identical clauses, they both mean the same thing. पैरेलल और आइडेंटिकल क्लॉजेस क्या होती हैं हमने ऑलरेडी पढ़ा. The higher you go, the cooler it is. Here you can also use comma, but these clauses can also be joined by using semicolon. Then they are used before, however, therefore, and nevertheless when they join to clauses. Now therefore and however, they can be used within the same clause or they can join different clauses. If they are used within the same clause, they will not take semicolon before them. But if they are joining two different clauses, then we shall definitely use semicolon before these two. For example, in the last lecture, I shared an example. We, however, believe that some $2,000 million years ago this rare event took place. Now here you can see that however is not joining two different clauses. That is why it is separated by the commas on both sides. We are not using semicolon. But if it is joining two different clauses, then it will take semicolon. For example, we were reluctant to travel with him however, we agreed after the assurances he made. Here, however, is joining two different clauses, and that is why we are using semicolon before it and not the comma. So this is how it can basically differentiate. So this is how you can actually differentiate between the use of comma and semicolon before, however, or therefore. Same will be the case with therefore. Then it is used before coordinating conjunctions if a comma is already there in the sentence. If we've already used a comma in a sentence, then we will not repeat it. In the next chunk of the sentence, if we want to join these two clauses, the two subordinate clauses will use two coordinating clauses will actually use the semicolon. For example, in some cases, one imagines indigestibles get into the parcels by accident. But it is likely that there are those who jump at the opportunity to get rid of the books they do not want. Now here you can see that we have already used comma in the sentence, and then at the next place when we need to join a clause, we are not using comma, we are using semicolon, because it is not good to have a repetition of something. So to avoid that repetition or to differentiate that here it is actually a non-restrictive element and here we are joining two clauses, we are here using the semicolon and not the comma. So ये थोड़ा सा difference है. अगर ये comma use ना हुआ होता, then we would have gone for the comma, or even comma was not necessary. Then it is used to separate a unit of series. यूनिट ऑफ सीरीज को भी सेपरेट करने के लिए हम कॉमा सेमीकोलन यूज करते हैं. The prophets recorded in the last 3 years were 2010 10,000, 2011 20,000, 2012 30,000. So here you can see that it is actually a unit of series, and to separate between these two we are using this semicolon. So these are the uses of semicolon, and you must be aware of all these uses in order to avoid any error in punctuation. So let's move on to now colon and the next chunk of this lecture. Now we are moving towards colon. Now colon is comparatively very easy. Primarily दो ही uses हैं इसके. Number one, it is used to introduce a formal quotation. For example, Ruskin said, rain is falling outside, but my heart is getting wet inside. So here, instead of using the inverted commas, I have used colon. And when you use colon, you can see that there is no inverted commas at all. So हमने inverted commas जो है वो use नहीं किए. That was just to make you understand. I am erasing it, that we have not used any inverted commas after the colon. तो colon के बगैर as it is आपकी statement वैसे ही चलती रहेगी, आपको कोई उसमें प्रॉब्लम करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. Then the most common usage you have to separate hours and minutes. For example, if I say 8 p.m. So here you will use colon between hours and minutes. Thirdly, it can be used after salutation and business letters. As I say, madam, instead of using comma, I can use colon. Or I say, sir, and then I put comma. Finally, it can be used to separate chapters and verses. Like I say, the Holy Quran 01, 02, and then 30. So it means para number 1, surah number 2, and verse number 30. So this is how it goes, and we use colon only for these specific reasons. Moving on, an important thing is coming up, that is apostrophe. Now you are often confused about it कि apostrophe के लिए हमने क्या use करना है. It is used to show the possession of a singular common noun. किसी singular common noun के possession को show करती है. For example, I say boy's book, girl's pen. Now it is showing the possession of a singular common noun. Then it can also be used to show the possession of a plural common noun. You can also do that. Plural common noun के साथ भी आप इसको use कर सकते हो. But here it will not take S after it. इसके बाद फिर आपको S लगाने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. For example, if I say boy's luggage, now we are using that luggage for the multiple boys. It is the possession of multiple boys. तो इसके लिए हम क्या करेंगे, दोबारा apostrophe के बाद we do not need to use S once again. Or I say girls' dresses. Here again we do not need the S once again because it is self-sufficient कि already वो plural में ही है. Then it can be used to show the possession of a proper noun. Now proper noun you always know कि they are always singular. So उनके लिए singular या plural होना मैटर नहीं करता. Obviously वो singular ही होते हैं. Proper है ही specific किसी जगह का नाम होगा ना या specific किसी person का नाम होगा. That is why there is no question of discussing them as singular or plural. Like I say Ali's book, Salma's bag. You can clearly see that we are using apostrophe and S with proper noun, and that is actually to show the possession of that book or the possession of that bag. Now there is a big question. how to use apostrophe with proper nouns that end with an S. वो प्रॉपर नाउन जो ऑलरेडी एस पे ख़त्म हो रहे हैं उनके साथ अपॉस्ट्रॉफी कैसे यूज़ करेंगे. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, if we say chips, if we say Thomas, if we say John's, now here the question arises what to do with them, because normally you are told that whatever is ending with s उसके साथ हम क्या यूज़ करेंगे, सिर्फ हम apostrophe यूज़ करेंगे and there will be no s at all. But no, this is not the case. The problem is if a proper noun ending with s has a single syllable, s will be used after apostrophe. अब ये बहुत समझने वाली बात है. Be very attentive and very careful about it. If a proper noun is already ending with s, but it is of single syllable. Syllable क्या है? उसकी sound एक होनी चाहिए. It must consist of single sound. Chips, John's, single है. But here, the word Thomas, it consists of two syllable. Thomas. ये क्या है? Thoms तो नहीं कह रहे ना इसको. That is actually Thomas. But on the other hand, it is this word chips can be pronounced in one go. It has a single sound. तो इसको हम कहते हैं single syllable. और इसको हम क्या कहेंगे? Double syllable कहेंगे. तो अगर तो वो single syllable पर मुश्तमिल है, even then if it ends with s, it will take an s after the apostrophe. And you have read it in Goodbye Mr. Chips. वो कहते हैं she was young enough to be Chips's daughter. She was young enough to be Chips's daughter. कि वो इतनी नौजवान थी कि बासानी चिप्स की बेटी लगती थी. Now here, although the word chips is ending with s, but because it is a single syllable word, that is why we are not only using apostrophe, but we are also using s after the apostrophe. On the other hand, if a proper noun ending with s consists of more than one syllable, only apostrophe will be used. then we will not use S after the apostrophe. Then only we will go for apostrophe. It is enough. For example, I was envious of Thomas achievements. Now look, that Thomas consists of two syllable, Thomas, दो sounds हैं. इसके बाद we are only using apostrophe, we are not going for the S after the apostrophe. So hopefully this situation is very clear now, that when to use apostrophe and when not to use apostrophe with the nouns that end with an S. And remember, we are only talking about proper nouns. We are not talking about common nouns. Common nouns तो जितने भी होंगे plural में, we have already told you that they will not take S after the apostrophe. So अगले chunk में देखते हैं और क्या कुछ है. So students, we are moving on with apostrophe. It is used for making contractions, and you are already aware of it कि contractions क्या हैं. Instead of will not, we use won't. Instead of using has not, we use hasn't. Instead of using shall not, we use shan't. So all these are actually contractions, and for making all these contractions we need apostrophe. और apostrophe लास्ट लेटर से पहले हम एक्चुअली यूज़ करते हैं, और इस तरह से हम उसको ब्रीफ फॉर्म उसकी कंस्ट्रक्ट कर लेते हैं. देन इट इज़ यूज्ड टू शो द प्लूरल of letters. If I say there are two A's in Amna, or beta, there are two A's in Amna. So the right option for us will be option alpha. So ये B इसका एक usage है. Then it is, I should say, it cannot be used for non-living things, because non-living things का जो है वो possession होता ही नहीं है. So अगर मुझे ये कहना हो leg of the chair is broken, and beta मैं कहूँ chair's leg is broken. So apparently they may seem true to you. Both of these options may seem true to you, but actually they are not. The right option is leg of the chair and not chair's leg, because chair is a non-living thing. It cannot have any possession whatsoever. But there are some exceptions to this rule, which says that apostrophe cannot be used for non-living things. And the first one is it can be used for time duration. Although कि time भी क्या है? It's a non-living entity, but we can use it, and we can use apostrophe for time durations. For example, if I say आपकी टेक्स्ट की लाइन है but the holidays were the summer holidays (2 months vacation we got during summertime. So here the 2 months, you can see that it is being used with an apostrophe. And here it is okay. Although time is a non-living entity, but we can use apostrophe with time. Secondly, can be used with heavenly bodies, the Earth's orbit is smaller than Neptune's orbit. Now here you can see that Neptune and Earth, they are equally the non-living objects, but we can use apostrophe for heavenly bodies. So these are the exceptions regarding the usage of apostrophe as far as non-living beings are concerned. Now we are moving to our next step, that is the use of inverted commas. Now the most famous use of inverted commas is that they are used to express reported speech. This is the most common and most famous use of inverted commas. For example, he said, I am going abroad. Now here you can see that what is being reported, that is actually expressed in inverted commas. In the same way, they can be used to express or to introduce a quotation. Keats said, or it can be even says, beauty is truth is beauty. We can also use comma here. It will also be all right to use comma. But the important point is that the quotation is expressed in inverted commas. Thirdly, to express a sarcastic or mocking tone. अब sarcastic या mocking tone को express करने के लिए भी हम inverted commas use करते हैं. जैसे the invisible government controls everything in the USA. Now here we are using these inverted commas to show a sarcastic or mocking tone, because invisible government का मतलब क्या है कि हम उनकी जो एजेंसीज हैं उनके बारे में बात करें, उनके रूल के बारे में बात करें. तो द इनविजिबल गवर्नमेंट, इन्वर्टेड कॉमर्स हम बोलते हुए भी अक्सर कह रहे होते हैं, दिस इज एन इन्वर्टेड कॉमर्स. तो वो हम क्या कह रहे होते हैं, दैट इज एक्चुअली अ sarcastic थिंग और दैट इज अ mockery of something. Then it is used to express technical terms. कोई टेक्निकल टर्म आएगी तो उसके लिए भी हम क्या यूज करेंगे, उसके लिए भी हम यूज करेंगे इन्वर्टेड कॉमा. फॉर एग्जाम्पल the court took a suo moto regarding this case. Now suo moto is a technical term and that can only be expressed in the inverted commas. And lastly, to express the names of literary works or titles, like the rain is composed by W.H. Davis. So this is how it actually goes, and these are all the uses of inverted commas. ले मेरे बच्चों, we are moving toward the next punctuation mark, and that is question mark. You all know it, बड़ा familiar sign है हम सब के लिए. Now where to use question mark? Obviously at the end of a direct question. Direct question जहाँ भी खत्म होगा तो obviously we'll use question mark. For example, you're doing nowadays. Now here we are supposed to use question mark. Obviously we are aware that at the end of indirect question we shall not use the question mark, rather we'll use obviously the full stop. Just like that, I don't care what he is doing nowadays. Here you will put a full stop because it is no more a question, it is actually an answer. It is actually a statement, an affirmative statement. ठीक है, जिसमें आप बता रहे हैं कि मुझे कोई परवाह नहीं, वो कुछ भी करता है, I do not care about it. So that is the difference. Then after every question in a series of questions, if you are talking about series of questions, तो हर क्वेश्चन के एंड पे आप क्या यूज करेंगे? यू विल यूज अ क्वेश्चन मार्क. जैसे where are you going? What is your purpose of going there? When will you come back? Now all these things, actually all these statements are actually questions. It is a series of questions. So हर question के end पे हम क्या mark कर रहे हैं? हम full stop use कर रहे हैं. Then at the end of a reported speech, if it shows a question. अगर रिपोर्टेड स्पीच में कोई क्वेश्चन पूछा गया है तो फिर इसके एंड पे हम क्या यूज करेंगे? Obviously we'll use the question mark. Just imagine, okay, he said are you really feeling horrified? Here you will use question mark at the end of the sentence. Now sometimes you people get worried that whether the question mark will be used inside the inverted commas or outside the inverted commas. ये बड़ा सिंपल सा सॉल्यूशन है इसका. If the question is only limited to reported speech, question mark will be used within inverted commas. But if the whole statement is a question, it will be used after commas. Look at this statement. Here, only the reported speech is actually showing the question. The reporting speech, he said, it's not a question. So logically, it is very evident that question mark should only be put in front of the reported speech, because reporting speech to question hai hi nahi. If that is not the question, why should we put the question mark outside that commas? तो क्यों नहीं बनता उसका? यहाँ सिर्फ हम reported speech के सामने लगाएंगे, और in other words we will place the question mark inside the inverted commas. Secondly, there is another possibility. If I say, did he really say to you are you feeling horrified? Now you can clearly tell that the whole statement is actually a question, because आप पूरी बात पूछ रहे हैं कि क्या उसने वाकई ये बात कही थी. तो obviously, because the whole statement is a question, the question mark will be placed after the whole statement. Complete statement के बाद ही question mark लगेगा. Because if you place the question mark down here, it means that only this one is a question. But here, the complete statement is a question. That is why the question mark will be placed after the complete statement. So logic भी आप लोगों को पता होनी चाहिए कि why we are using question mark outside the inverted commas. Then it can be used in the brackets to show doubt. अगर आप ब्रैकेट में क्वेश्चन मार्क को यूज कर देंगे तो इट विल मीन दैट यू आर क्वेश्चनिंग द फैक्ट, यू आर नॉट क्लियर, यू आर नॉट श्योर अबाउट द फैक्ट. Just for example, Babar scored his first century in 2016. And you are putting a question mark against 2015 or 2016. Here you are actually doubting that fact. आप उसको ये बता रहे हो कि we are not sure about it, whether he did score it in 2016 or not. So you are just raising an eyebrow कि पता नहीं उसने 2016 में बनाई थी या नहीं बनाई थी. So these are the different usages of these are the different uses of question mark as far as punctuation is concerned. Now moving on to the next one. We are talking about another important thing, that is the use of capital letters. So capital letters कहाँ use होते हैं? Obviously to show or to express a proper noun. Proper noun, we all know, it will always be expressed in capital letters, just like we have expressed Babar Azam. Then at the start of the sentence, and you can take the example of all these statements. Here, the first letter of every statement was actually a capital letter. So यहाँ भी capital letter जो है वो इस्तेमाल होगा. Then we can use it first letter of every verse. कोई भी वर्स लिखेंगे, जब हम पोएम लिखेंगे तो उसका फर्स्ट लेटर क्या होगा? Obviously that will be the capital. First letter of every verse will be capital. For example, the gradient is against her, but she is on time. So I have chosen a couplet from the Night Mail, and you can see that the first letter of each verse is capital. Moving further, first letter of a reported speech it does not apply to reporting speech, it only applies to reported speech. Here you can take the example when he said R, so A was the capital letter. Okay? Here again I said R and A was the capital letter. So जहाँ भी reported speech आएगी, the first letter obviously will be capital. But remember one thing, only the first letter will be capital. If the reporting speech is used in the middle of the sentence, then the remaining part will not start with a capital letter. For example, if I say the Berbers said he were ferocious. Now you can clearly see that when the reported speech has restarted, the first letter is not the capital letter. Only the first letter of a reported speech will be the capital letter. Then you are always confused about the title. कि टाइटल में कौन सा वर्ड कैपिटल लिखना है और कौन सा कैपिटल नहीं लिखना. The first letter of all the words in a title except conjunction, preposition and आर्टिकल। ये लेटर्स जो हैं ये कैपिटल नहीं होंगे, द रिमेनिंग वन विल ऑब्वियसली बी द कैपिटल लेटर्स। फॉर एग्जाम्पल clearing in the sky. Here you can see C capital and S is also capital, but I and T, they are not capital because they express conjunction and preposition. They express article and preposition. So इन तीन के अलावा बाकी जितने भी words होंगे उन सब के first letter क्या होंगे? They will be capital letters. First letters of relations, if they are addressed directly, कोई भी रिलेशन है, मदर, फादर, ग्रैंडफादर, ग्रैंडमदर और व्हाटएवर, कोई भी रिलेशन है, जब आप उसको डायरेक्टली एड्रेस करेंगे, इवन इफ इट इज अ पोस्ट लाइक प्रेसिडेंट और एनीवन एल्स, डायरेक्टली एड्रेस करेंगे, डायरेक्ट एड्रेसल के लिए वी विल यूज द फर्स्ट लेटर एज कैपिटल. We have had an example while we were discussing the importance of punctuation. That was, let's eat grandmother. Now, why are we using the G as capital letter? Because here we are directly addressing the grandmother. So, कोई भी ऐसा addressal direct address आएगा तो we will use the capital letter and not the small letter. So, अगले चंक पे चलते हैं और देखते हैं कि और क्या कुछ है punctuation में. So, students, we are further moving with punctuation. And again we are discussing capital letters. Last we discussed that if you are addressing a person or addressing a relation, it will obviously the first letter of that relation will be capital. Here first letter of a relation if it is followed by the name of the relative. For example, if I say of all my uncles, Uncle James is my favorite, and beta of all my uncles Uncle James is my favorite. Here we'll choose option alpha. Why? Here the uncles, the first letter of uncles will remain the small letter. Why? Because it is not followed by the name of the relative. But here we will use capital U because the uncle is followed by the name of that uncle, that is Uncle James. तो ये आपने थोड़ा सा ख्याल रखना है. Then it is used for first letter of all heavenly bodies except Earth and Moon. इनके अलावा बाकी जितने भी हैं उन सब के साथ आप क्या यूज़ करोगे? कैपिटल लेटर में इसको यूज़ करेंगे. Why? Because even sun can also be included and sun. Why? Because जिसको कहते हैं ना घर की मुर्गी दाल बराबर. So they have lost their I should say importance, and that is why we are discussing them as a common noun because they are a part and parcel of our life. इसलिए हम इनको उस तरह से proper noun में discuss नहीं करते. And finally, I and O are always used as capital letters. अगर ये standalone use होंगे obviously तो they will be used as capital letters. तो ये तो था capital letters का. Now we are moving toward our next big thing, that is hyphen. Hyphen एक छोटी सी डैश है. बेसिकली ये अक्सर आपको कन्फ्यूजन भी होती है कि व्हाट इज़ द डिफरेंस बिटवीन हाइफन एंड डैश. तो ये छोटी सी डैश है और क्यों इस्तेमाल होते हैं? It is used to make a compound noun. For example, मैं कहूँ a cubed shape carton. So this is actually the hyphen. So इसके लिए इसको इस्तेमाल करते हैं. Then it is used to shift a word to the next line. नेक्स्ट लाइन पर जब आप उसको शिफ्ट करते हो तो देन आप हाइफन जो है वो यूज़ करते हो. एंड फाइनली इट इज़ यूज्ड टू एक्सप्रेस रेपिटेशन. फॉर एग्जाम्पल जैसे आप कहते हैं revisit, rethink, ठीक है, regroup. सो ये क्या करते हैं? एक्सप्रेशन जो रेपिटेशन का है उसको हम इसको एक्सप्रेस करने के लिए इस्तेमाल. एंड इट कैन ऑल्सो बी यूज टू शो stuttering और sobbing। जैसे वो एक बड़े हमारे पड़ोसी मुल्क के फेमस एक्टर हैं, उनका एक डायलॉग बड़ा फेमस है, किरण, ठीक है। तो वो जो स्टटरिंग है, वो जो सॉबिंग है उनकी, ठीक है, अटक अटक के बोलना, ठीक है, दैट इज एक्सप्रेस थ्रू हाइफन। आई शुड से लाइक Sunday, ठीक है। तो this will be expressed through the use of hyphen. And now we are moving to dash. Dash basically ये वो वाला dash नहीं है जो आप एक दूसरे को कह रहे हो तो बड़ा dash इंसान है, ठीक है। ये dash हम use करते हैं to show टू एक्सट्रीम्स, जो रेंज है ना उसको शो करने के लिए। जैसे हम कहते हैं कराची टू कतर, हियर इट इज टेलिंग अस द रेंज। तो ये रेंज जो है दैट कैन बी एक्सप्रेस थ्रू डैश। सेकेंडली इट इज ऑल्सो यूज्ड for expressing sudden change of emotions. Is also expressed through dash. Sudden change कुछ भी हो सकती है, he burst into tears, ठीक है, कोई amazement की expression हो सकता है, कोई कुछ भी हो सकता है। So all these expressions will be expressed through dash. And the last one of all this is parenthesis. Parenthesis brackets को हम कहते हैं, the last one is parenthesis, और parenthesis हम किसको कहते हैं, ब्रैकेट को कहते हैं। और ये यूज क्यों होते हैं, एक ही यूज है टू सेट ऑफ किसी सेंटेंस में जब आपको कुछ चीज सेट असाइड करनी है, कोई चीज निकालनी है दैट इज नॉट इंपॉर्टेंट, तो उसको सेट असाइड करने के लिए वी यूज पेरेंथेसिस। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, you not your brother are a capable individual. So here you can see that not your brother, it is basically something we want to exclude. तो उसको हम किस में कर देते हैं, that is put in the parenthesis. So that is it for today, और punctuation हमारी complete हुई। That is it for today. आए अब चलते हैं लेक्चर को वाइंड अप करते हैं।